juga industri satelit. Oleh itu saya ingin minta izin untuk berbicara dalam bahasa Inggeris. I would like to welcome Mr. Fabrice Godot, the Managing Director, Innovation Maker, he puts here on the card. I'll ask you about that later, from Altran, Malaysia. Altran deals with a lot of high-tech stuff, engineering stuff, innovation and creativity. Maybe I'm going to come to you from what is needed to back up a very, very sensitive and high-tech industry like the aviation industry and commercial airlines, for example, because there's tons of engineering involved, but especially from the communication perspective. If I take what was said at the press conference today, again and again, Datuk Sri Syamuddin will reiterate that, you know, when we find the black box, I can give you more answers. We will all know more answers. So how to find the black box? This is day 12. We know that, for example, the power unit for a black box runs average about 30 days. So that gives a bit of urgency. But we also do know that it sends out signals that the human ear cannot hear, but it can be sensed and located by, you know, machineries or sensors that we have. So if you can just paint a picture of how very competitive and high-tech the industry is for the airlines, because that will give us a picture of what we're dealing with in not only trying to locate, but maybe later put together and solve this mystery, this unprecedented incident of where we can't find a plane that has gone away from its flight path. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me this evening to talk about high technology.
Yes.
Altran is a high technology and innovation group for 30 years, and we have a division of aerospace, defense and railway, and we have been focusing in those new technology for the last 30 years, being really involved from mechanical engineering to intelligence system,
okay,
and communications. And well, firstly, I think it's good to get back and zoom out a bit, what's the industry in aviation, and for the people to understand how it works in terms of communication, as you said. Firstly, there are the traditional transponders in the civilian radars, which work based on request and respond identification on high frequency and VHF frequency. These have limited range from the land and cannot be used over the sea. This is also typically how air traffic control communicate with the aircraft upon they're reaching the range of coverage. So, secondly, there is, and we heard a lot for the last 2 weeks almost, there is the aircraft communication and reporting system, ACAS, which is also used VHF links, and in some cases, and it was the case of the 777, a SATCOM links. But SATCOM links use Inmarsat based communication. Inmarsat coverage is not truly global. In the constellation, they have 3 satellites. So many other airlines, of course, traditional airlines, all the airlines are using ACAS system, and many airlines find the traditional ACAS to be quite legacy driven. It's limited in terms of capability due to technology which was developed in the 1980s. Now we are 2014. So a company, Flight Focus, based in Singapore, our strategic partner, have developed some new technology in 2010 to respond far ahead before this unfortunately incident of MH370. So now we have some technology, Flight Focus, we have developed some platform which enable to go beyond those constraints, those legacy constraints. We are using global network satellite, for example. So we have a full panel of communication and reports the status of the aircraft more frequently.
Okay.
So ACAS will send a report every 30 minutes.
Okay.
So if you have an aircraft flying more than 800 kilometers per hour, it will fly already 400 kilometers when between each report. In Flight Focus platform technology we are offering, it's every 3 minutes, and we can stream a certain level of data, some or all the parameters. The black box is collecting all the data from the sensors. So there's about more than 100. The black box is an offline solution. And the future really rely on the online. And it's what we're offering.
Fabrice, I need to go to the first break, but once we are back, my main question that has been also picked up by especially online writers: how could we, in the 21st century, just lose sight of a plane? This is the day and age of the digital age, where you can't even know who's talking about what over SMS on this other side of the world. So, and the plane is hundreds of millions of US dollars, and the whole industry a billion US dollars, for example. So, can I ask you to say that all again, but just looking at the perspective of why hasn't the global airline industry moved up to real-time streaming of data and communication around the globe, and maybe paint a future that we all can look forward to, because especially the aviation industry, they must learn every time from whatever has happened. That we'll discuss after the short break. Anda masih menonton Agenda Awani, dan kita masih cuba memahami teknologi-teknologi yang terbabit untuk membantu kita memahami ataupun lebih penting lagi mengesan MH370. Oleh itu saya akan meneruskan perbincangan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Fabrice, my question before, there's this statement put out, especially online, that how could we lose a plane in the 21st century? It's the days of the digital technology and the digital age, for example. And even if we lost track of it, why can't we even have a tiny clue? Because you have big data, you have live streaming of stuff every day, but maybe a lot of people, unlike you, who knows really up close about what's needed and what's being used for the aviation industry, will tend to compare, for example, what's in the black box with our MP3 player. For example, if a small MP3 player that can buy for about 50 US dollars can have so much data, but why can't a black box, for example, be utilized not only after something has happened to a plane, but real time, relaying back all this data so that people back home or whatever the control is can be more alert and maybe can do more to assist?
First of all, I fully share the frustration of the people. I think I really understand they are suffering, they're in pain, and we do understand the frustration. At the same time, we are one of the most regulated industry. Because why it's regulated? Because the first thing comes in mind when you design an aircraft or an equipment or a component in aerospace is safety from A to Z. So there is new technology, it's available, in some cases being slowly deployed, but it took about more than almost 5 years to get the certifications. So our technology is certified with EASA certified and FAA certified, but people have to understand the new technology and all these big data has come from since the 2000s, and it takes a long process to certify the equipment with the authorities. Like I said, minimum 3 to 5 years. Then after you have to go out to the market because it's not mandatory technology. So therefore it takes time for the market to adopt that new technology. And I would say we're in an industry which is quite conservative in that regard.
The airline industry, conservative?
They are relying on very proven. When you have a new technology, you have to be proven.
Again and again.
We have seen with the electronic flight bag. You heard that some pilots, some airlines now are using it iPad or Android or Surface technology. It takes time to adopt this technology. We are in aerospace, safety is everything, and it takes time to see, is it proven? And proven is not on 1 year or 2 years. We take a span of 5 to 10 years. Then we say, okay, that's a proven technology, and it's safe to use it on board. And you can see when you fly, you have to still, you know, that FAA approved that you can use iPad and during takeoff and landing, but still, we are still very conservative to say no, better to be switched off for takeoff and landing, even during some flights. It's limited.
So, if it's just regulations, you know, for the safety of everyone involved, is the issue. So, how would technology find a way to plead its case, to speak for itself, for adoption to be faster? Because we do know that, you know, if we carry more than 200 people on board one plane, and if one person or whoever it is can switch off all locating signals, then that leaves a lot of other people, not only on board, very helpless and vulnerable. So maybe the technology, as like your company, for example, would be pursuing the R&D very thoroughly and more immediately responding to the current needs. But if regulators and regulations are still key, so what do you think will be the best compromise? Because we do know that unprecedented cases will plead for maybe a bigger inertia to change things and move things faster.
I think it already started a few years ago already. I mean, that question of the online black box, which is orange, by the way, the management of the data recording is a real issue. And after the crash of the Rio Paris, we already talk about it. We already talk about the online black box. And we intensify our research and development. We intensify, and some solution emerge. And now I think everybody will start to sit down around a table between companies like ours, manufacturers and regulators, to see how we can adopt a more mandatory, more an obligation for carriers to adopt this technology. I would say that Malaysia is really at the forefront, because DCA Malaysia, few years back already, I don't know very accurately if it's 2 or 3 years, requested flight following for airlines. And we have one of our customers adopted our technology to follow all his fleets, his entire fleet, and get every 3 minutes reports of what's going on with the aircraft.
Okay, it's good to know that Malaysia is up there, with, you know, at the forefront. We have to go for the last break, but once we are back, it's no coincidence that you sound French, and the experience of the flight, Air France flight 447, for example, was a real eye-opener, because I've read it again and again over the last 12 days, and you know, one sensor covered with ice started a whole slew chain of events that one particular aspect of investigation alone is not enough to explain. For example, thank God the cockpit voice recorder was recovered and it painted a more clear picture. But going through the notes, and we're glad to hear that today Dato' Sri Syamuddin said that he's already talked to the French team, and the experience of Flight 447 is being used not only from the technological side, but also on the communication expertise on how to deal and comfort the relative and the people involved with the people who are still on MH370, for example. So I'd like to get your reading coming back to Air France 447 and how it has pushed research, development, management and governance of any technology, and also the airline industry forward. Because I think that was a very big thing, and potentially this is a second step to push things further along that we'll discuss after this short break.